My parents are coming to stay at our house for 3 days starting next Friday. When I told this to my husband, Ethan, his eyes widened and he blurted out, "What? I don't want them to stay here. It'll be too tiring and crowded." I froze, staring at him. What? Don't just say things like that out of the blue. Do you really have no common sense? Something snapped inside me when I heard his words. What about you, Ethan? You always tell me on the very morning your parents are coming and leave everything to me to take care of them. Too tiring and crowded? That's exactly how I feel every time they visit. It's not your place to lecture me about common sense. Ethan's face turned red and he started yelling. I'm Clara, a 35-year-old homemaker. My husband Ethan and I have been married for 5 years. We live together with our 5-year-old daughter Lily, who was born soon after our marriage. Life is generally normal, and I'm happy watching Lily grow up so well. Recently, I found even more happiness. We moved into our dream home. It's spacious, beautiful, and has the perfect kitchen. I work from home and finally have my own quiet office where I can focus. My daily life is comfortable and fulfilling, but everything turns into chaos whenever Ethan's parents come over. My parents are coming over today, so please take care of them, Ethan said as he was heading out for work. Today? Again, I asked, my voice rising. Do you have any idea how often they come? They were just here last week. Ethan's tone hardened. What's with that attitude? I'm fulfilling my duty as their son. You should cooperate a little. Your duty? You mean inviting them here and leaving me to handle everything? You don't even lift a finger to help. I shot back. And why do you always tell me on the day they're coming? Ethan's expression turned cold. Don't be rude to them, he snapped before leaving for work. Later that day, his parents arrived. Finally, we're here. Clara, make us some tea, his mother, Margaret, demanded, settling herself on the couch without a second glance. This house is nice, she added, but why did you build it so far from us? It's inconvenient to visit. His father, Henry, chimed in. I'd never build a house this far away. They made themselves at home and started asking me for various things. I tried to escape to my office to work, but they kept calling me. I barely got anything done, which meant I had to catch up late into the night after they went to bed. The next morning, Margaret organized a tea party with her friends at our house without asking me. Meanwhile, Henry smoked in the garden, filling the air with cigarette smoke that wafted into the house. This guest room is too cramped, Margaret complained, scattering her belongings around. The clean, serene guest room was quickly reduced to chaos. The worst part was how they treated Lily. Most grandparents dote on their grandchildren, but not Margaret and Henry. When Lily asked them to play, they brushed her off. We're too busy, Margaret said dismissively. One day, when Lily was playing in the garden, Henry yelled at her, "You're in my way. Stop bothering me." Lily came running to me in tears. After that, she refused to go near them, instead hiding in my room whenever they visited. "Mommy, can I stay here while they're here?" she would whisper, clutching her favorite book. Her fear and sadness broke my heart. I confronted Ethan that night. Ethan, I don't want your parents coming over every week. It's too much. And they're mean to Lily. She's scared of them. What do you mean? He asked, incredulous. Dad's allowed to enjoy his cigarette time without interruptions. Lily needs to learn not to get in his way. What? Are you serious? She's just a child. You should talk to your father about his behavior. Ethan frowned. You're supposed to teach her manners, Clara. This is on you. Are you saying it's my fault? I asked, stunned. Of course. You're a housewife. You should focus on running the house properly and raising Lily better. You're barely doing your job. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I work too, Ethan. I contribute financially. Work from home, he scoffed. You don't even make much. Stop acting so entitled. Ethan's true nature had revealed itself over time. Before we built this house, his parents rarely visited and life was smoother. But now, with the constant invasions and his lack of support, my happy life felt like it was slipping away. Margaret and Henry continued to take over our home during their visits. I was drowning in the stress of managing everything. Their demands, Lily's unhappiness, and Ethan's cold indifference. The house I had dreamed of now felt more like a cage. Little did I know, this was only the beginning of a battle I would have to fight. As the weeks passed, the situation grew unbearable. Ethan's parents came over unannounced. took over the house and left me feeling powerless. Lily's once bright and cheerful demeanor dimmed, and I could no longer ignore the impact it was having on her. My resentment toward Ethan festered with every dismissive remark he made and every moment he chose his parents' comfort over his family's happiness. One evening, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Clara, your father and I are coming to Tokyo for a short vacation," she said warmly. "We'd love to visit you and see the new house." My heart lifted at the thought. "That's wonderful. When are you planning to come?" "Next Friday. Is that okay?" she asked. I hesitated, knowing Ethan's reaction wouldn't be pleasant. But then I thought about how he never hesitated to bring his parents over and how I deserved the same courtesy. "Of course," I said, determined. When Ethan came home that night, I carefully broached the subject. "Ethan, my parents are coming to stay with us for 3 days next Friday." His reaction was immediate and explosive. "What? No way. I don't want them here. It'll be too crowded, and it's too much work." "Too much work? You don't do anything when your parents come over," I snapped, unable to hold back. "Every single time, I'm left to take care of everything. You didn't even ask if it was okay with me." Ethan glared at me. "It's different. They're my parents. You should know it's your job as a wife to host them." "Really? So when it's my parents, it's not your job as a husband to help?" "You're unbelievable, Ethan," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "Don't start this again," he muttered. "Tell your parents to stay at a hotel." That was the breaking point. "Fine," I said coldly. "But Lily and I will stay with them at the hotel. And while we're there, you can figure out how to take care of yourself for a change." Ethan looked stunned. "Wait. What? You can't just leave." "Watch me," I said, turning on my heel and walking away. The following week, I packed our bags and left with Lily to join my parents at the hotel. We spent 3 blissful days exploring Tokyo, free from the suffocating atmosphere of our home. My parents adored Lily and showered her with love and attention, something she had desperately missed. Meanwhile, Ethan's frantic calls and texts went unanswered. I knew what I had to do. Before leaving the house, I had packed my belongings and shipped them to my parents' home. I also left the divorce papers on the kitchen table, neatly signed and ready. Ethan would know I was serious this time. When I finally answered one of his calls, his voice was filled with anger and panic. "Clara, what is this? Divorce papers? You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious," I replied. "I won't live like this anymore, Ethan. I deserve better, and so does Lily." "You're being ridiculous," he shouted. "You can't just leave me like this." "I already have," I said firmly before hanging up. The divorce process was smoother than I expected, thanks to the evidence I had gathered, recordings of Ethan's cruel words and proof of his parents' harassment. My lawyer was skilled, and the court ruled in my favor, granting me full custody of Lily, alimony for the emotional distress, and child support. Ethan, burdened with the house loan and alimony payments, was left with little to live on. The home he had once used as a tool of control became his greatest financial liability. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he eventually had to sell it. As for me, life at my parents' house was a fresh start. With their support, I was able to focus on my career, and my earnings soon matched, if not exceeded, what Ethan had contributed. Lily thrived in her new environment, making friends and rediscovering her happiness. Looking back, I realized that building the house wasn't a mistake. It was a turning point. It revealed the cracks in my marriage and gave me the courage to reclaim my life. Now, every corner of my new home is filled with laughter, love, and hope for the future. And Ethan? I blocked him completely. His chapter in my life is closed, and I'm looking forward to writing the rest of my story on my own terms.